Hi, my name is Cecile Johnson, CEO of African Development Plan, and I'm here today as part of Global City Unity's community outreach to keep you informed about issues affecting the global Black community that require us to be united and be on one accord to find solutions. So, in June 2015, a group of Black activists and business people went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, site of the original Black Wall Street, and participated in a remembrance of the Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Tulsa, and what happened there, and how Tulsa still influences our conversation about Black economic empowerment. So this week's show will be focused on why they went, what happened, and what actions will be taking place since their return. In the studio, we have three wonderful people. One is Revin Fellows activists who went on the trip, Abu Nurrideen, who's from the West Side Black Wall Street, and Paula Green from the All People Foundation. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is just give a little background, right? Greenwood was a Black Wall Street. It was a neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was a town of 10,000 inhabitants in 1921. It was known as one of the most successful and wealthiest African-American communities in the United States during the early 20th century. It was popularly known as America's Black Wall Street until what they called the Tulsa Riot in 1921. This riot was one of the most devastating race riots in history, and it destroyed, at that time, the once thriving Greenwood community. So, over 600 successful businesses were lost. Among them were 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores. Did you hear that? 30 grocery stores, right? And 2 movie theaters, plus a hospital, a bank, a post office, libraries, schools, law offices, a half-dozen private airplanes, and even a bus system. This is 1921, folks. Okay. So, at that time, the entire state of Oklahoma had 2 airplanes, and Black people had 6. In fact, one of the times the first American city attack from the air was on us using our planes, right? 1921,
Yes.
Black District, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So what was causing this, this riot? You see, I always call our insurrection or response to their terror a riot, right? Was a fear of Black independence and self-determination, which they said took a Freudian form of rape hysteria. In one town after another, racial violence was sparked by rumors that a Negro had harmed a white woman, right? That was the common ploy 100 years ago. Sound like common ploy today, right? This happened in Washington, Omaha, Nebraska, Kansas City, Knoxville, Tennessee, Longview, and Rosewood. So it's not just Tulsa, Oklahoma. And in fact, it's probably much more rampant, and people have chosen to forget sometimes, right? Because they had to leave everything behind. So why were the tensions exploding? After 300 years of bondage, segregation, and oppression, African Americans were organizing healthy and economically successful communities. Folks, you need to remember this. We did all the work during slavery, and when we came out of slavery, we had a lot of skills. So we then used those skills to build something for ourselves. Some people didn't like that, because that didn't fit into their agenda of what we were supposed to be. They're a workhorse who work for free to build this country and then get nothing. So, white society could not allow Blacks to prosper. The media printed a story that stirred up a mob, and this is a common historic trend, right? White police officials deputized the mobs to go out and kill you some damn niggers. That's what the phrase came out of the newspaper. 10,000 whites stormed Greenwood. And the irony of the Greenwood massacre is that the woman who allegedly started this, right, with the accusation, refused to press charges against the accused, and Dick Rowland was acquitted. Most Black people at the time felt that this had all been a farce to destroy their town's success. So that's just a little history for you here today. So let's come locally. When we look at what's going on locally, we see that the crisis facing the Black community, we have more politicians than we've ever had, and yet we're in a worse condition than we've ever been in, right? We see in Chicago, where we're 14.5% of the state's population and 33% in the city, where we have the face of poverty in Illinois is us. 14% of the people in the state are poor, 31% of them are Black, and when you come into our inner cities, like North Lawndale, it's 45.3% poverty, East Garfield, 45.4% poverty, Burnside, 47.5% poverty, Inglewood, 47.8% poverty, Riverdale, 58.3%, okay? So segregation still persists in Chicago. Most 48 of the 72 of the 77 communities are majority minority, and as you can hear from this data, right? They are the concentrated areas of poverty. When you look at unemployment in Illinois, the unemployment rate is 7.9% for whites in 2013. Hispanics was 11.1%, and blacks were 17%. And when you break the black rate from 17%, you see that black men were 19.6% and black women were 14.9%. So there's a disparity there. But we all know that even though this number sounds high, because it's more than 2 times the white rate, right? It is also incorrect. Because we know when we look around our communities, any hour of the day or night, all these people hanging out in front of something, right? So we know that this rate is really very low compared to what really is. And many times whenever events happen in our community, we had this so-called Great Recession, right? And they try to use everything negative that happens to say, oh, well, that's why you have this disparity in your community. That's not what the data shows. The data shows that even before we had the so-called recession, the black unemployment rate was in double digits in Chicago Heights, in Harvey, in Kankakee, in North Chicago, in East St. Louis, right? So what we're doing with some of this data is to let you be aware that we're now aware of what's really going on. And so when you're coming to us with all of these, fallacies, it's a joke. In Illinois, nearly 1 in 2 black males aged 16 to 24 is unemployed. But in Chicago, 92% of black male teens are unemployed. And when you look nationwide, in 2013, 83% of black teens are unemployed. Okay, so when you see some of the crime and the violence and the things that are going on, it's all economics. It's all tied to the fact that people who do have jobs to go to or are running their own businesses don't have time to be out there doing other things, right? And so this issue of economics is something that we really need to address. And then when you look at the fact that even when we do get a job, we're not paid what other people are paid. Well, black people, the highest paid weekly earning in America is actually an Asian man and an Asian woman. And so the standard is now compared against them, right? And if you look around our communities, who own the businesses, right? So we can understand why they have a high weekly earnings, right? So my question to some would be, if black women make 79% of what an Asian woman makes and black men make 67% of what an Asian man makes, when we go into the store, can we just pay 67 cents on the dollar? Or do we, all right?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Wouldn't that be awesome? Since we don't make the same amount, right? So should we get a discount, right? So when you look at average US household assets, black household assets in 2010 were 6 times lower than whites. And in fact, median net worth for black households in 2011 was lower than it was in 1984. So in 2011, it was 6,446. In 1984, it was 7,150, right? So it's gone down. And then high-earned married black households have on average less wealth than low-earning whites, right? So when we talk about there being a history of discrimination that has had long-term impact, it has. Redlining, when you redline the communities and the housing values are low on one side of the track versus the other, that means that you have dismantled our ability to have long-term generational wealth to pass on to our children, okay? So one of the last things I'll mention is how long does the dollar circulate in the black community, right? So there was a Black Youth Project. The Black Youth Project noted that the dollar spent 6 hours in the black community, 1 month in the Asian community, 20 days in the Jewish community, and 17 days in the overall white community. So if your dollar only spends 6 hours in your community, what does that mean? It means that you don't own anything in your community, because that's why it left with the person who did that night, right? Or at the end of the day. African Americans have a buying power of $1.1 trillion, yet only 2 cents of every dollar is spent on a black business. So I say this to give you historic context to Tulsa. That was a thriving town, and some people didn't like that, so they had to burn it down, right? And to what our reality is now, which is almost 100 years later, right? This is where we are, black people in America. Dr. Claude Anderson says in 1860, 99% of all black people work for whites. Today, 98% of all black people work for whites. He says you're enjoying a social illusion because you go to someone else's restaurant, but you don't own the restaurant yourself. So we're always happy to talk about where we can take each other. And we just keep handing over that money to other people, right? Instead of creating something for ourselves. Dr. Anderson also says that there are 5 steps to acquiring power in a community. The first step is economics. The second step is political. The third step is legal. The fourth step is media. And the fifth step is education. He says when you own your economics, you buy, sell, rent, and lease your politicians. And when you look at Supreme Court decisions, and you see that corporations are people, and they can give as much as they want to any upcoming election process, you understand that he's correct. Because when you own your economics, you can buy, rent, sell, and lease your politicians. And so today we have a lot of politicians, right? Representation, but because we don't have the economic base, someone else bought, rented, and leased them, right? So today what we're going to be doing is, I gave you all of that as a little, foundation for you now to talk to me about what made you all go to Tulsa, Oklahoma in June 2015. What did you learn there? What did you see? Those who actually went, and then what actions coming back? Because I'm sure, having spoken to Brother Revin, that it was an emotional journey. So talk to us about all of that. What happened? Why y'all went? And all of that.
Well, first, thank you for inviting us today to be informed. The drums of the community much needed, and the data that you present. I think it's crucial that we present the facts. There's a lot of misinformation. Matter of fact, our biggest problem is misinformation. So thank you for your research. I am one of the co-founders, along with, as part of that, Ron Carter and Will Cosby of the Black Wall Street Chicago. I can't remember where we were, 204, 205, but we, as a group, small group, founded the Black Wall Street Chicago and began to connect with the Black Wall Street chapters out of California, and had a series of summits. And one of the goals was to create Black Wall Street again here in Chicago and locally and throughout. And so with that being said, Mr. Ron Carter, we was wondering where would it be a good idea to start Black Wall Street here in Chicago. Well, I had been working with the with the Inglewood Black Chamber of Commerce, where, as you know, I do my research and things such as that yourself. And we had identified 75th Street, from 75th and State Street to about Cottage Grove was 130 black business thriving, moving money. So it was moving. Mr. Swoop, that was one of the Chamber of Commerce there, I spoke with him, he talked about it. And so we were going to target that area, get with them and put money. So we decided to do a series of workshops on economic development, capital, sustainability business workshops, so that we could build capacity, as you mentioned, technical assistant, get their paperwork, get their license right. And so we began to hold a series of summits, and then we did resolutions. We put different things on the table that we wanted to happen, policy that would make that we brought elected officials in and businesses in to collaborate. With that concept, we were able to get Senator Donnie Trotter to recognize Black Wall Street District on 75th in Springfield as a resolution in Springfield, identifying that as Black Wall Street. And so from that, we begin to look at other districts. So we have labeled at least 8 or 9 areas that either going to be or are, we consider Black Wall Street. So if it's under development, we're going to develop it. If it has a substantial amount of business, we're going to take it to another level. So that begins to pollinate Brother Boo over Chicago Avenue over the west side with the west side of Black Wall Street. So we've identified different districts where we want to pour in, do research, economic development, sustainable business, and redevelop our dollars. As you said, we're not rotating it back. Chicago Avenue from Austin to almost, I want to say, Cicero had at least the same amount of business that they were exchanging out. So we had pockets. 63rd before the Asian took it over, blacks were recycling dollars. And so we're trying to duplicate that. And so one of the things that we connected, and then so Mr. Jeffrey Dawkins with the South Suburban Black Wall Street had been in contact with Tulsa about a year ago to try to go down and actually go down as a delegation and connect with them. And so as you say, get the model. what's the spirit. Since they practice it, what is the best? So we can talk about it, but if you've never been there and hear from the people and see. So we couldn't get it a year ago, so this year he was successful in talking with the Stratford family, which is one of the major players in Black Wall Street who helped develop that model. And the other brother from Ariel Capital, John Rogers, his ancestry is there. So we were able to get together, get his support and Ms. Stratford. And so we took a delegation of 20 of us down to Tulsa, Oklahoma. State Representative LaShawn Ford got on board with us as co-chair. As you know, he's been a champion of the Small Business Task Force for the state, and he's also a real estate by trade, a businessman, and he was able to say that I'm going to go with you guys and support and go down and see the history. We took an urban planner. We took a community organizer, Brother Revin Fellows. We took some other, Brother Dolphin and Geraldine over there doing the freedom movement. So we, Freedom Highway group. So we went down there with a delegation of 20 some people from St. Louis, and we went down to see what happened, what's best practice, and how do we develop. And so we went down and it was great. And we discovered that they had rebuilt Black Wall Street within 10 years. They had rebuilt themselves. So that's power within itself. So take a trauma where you get bombed, destroyed, which means the capital ain't everywhere and people are trying to get you, not letting you get back. They were able to come back and sustain themselves. In the meantime, that's right. So that means they took their money back, and as you say, that's the model. Somehow they recycled those dollars and built it back. And so they did come back later and put a highway and a college. And so, but we were able to go down there to Black Wall Street District, Greenwood Street, and they have a Chamber of Commerce thriving. They have at least 8 or 9 blocks that they control down there, and they own the block. And so we got the real history, the real story. They had other malls there, strip malls, mini malls, that we were able to go to those businesses and patronize them, say, we here from Chicago, and hear what was happening. What was really interesting, everywhere we went, they were saying, this is a pillar in the community. So they had elders coming, this is a pillar, that's a pillar. I'm like, wow, in Chicago, we don't get that all the time. Where everybody you see it, oh, that's Brother Johnson, he's a pillar in the community. They were just multitudes in every community. So we spoke with a lot of them had tears in their eyes, said, man, we thought everybody forgot about us. We're so excited you guys here. So we were able to go down with our shirts on, our t-shirts as a unified body, spend money. And our trip was called Tulsa, which is Chicago, Tulsa, Oklahoma connection, to connect to our grassroots to see how we can go back to help revitalize Black Wall Street there and pollinate the districts throughout the country. And it was a great time. And so coming back, I just want to share, one of the things, they have a reconciliation park called Hope Franklin Reconciliation Park, where I had a chance to see the first hands up getting shot here was not that young brother. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, they marched all the black men and young men to a concentration camp and then began to raid the village and the women and children. And that really set in my spirit. I said, wow, because in Chicago, we got all our men locked up. We have a lot of brothers missing, and our women and our children under attack. So we have to take a look at that. 96-year-old lady, she was there, and I had a chance to look in her eyes, and we honored her. They honored her with a plaque that day, and she's smiling and on the cane. It's like, whoa, like, man, how you take that kind of stuff? And that's to show you the resilience of our women. It's unbelievable for our women, and I must commend black women that if it wasn't for you ladies, we'd be gone right now. We'd be extinct race. So our black woman has been carrying the ball for a while, and we're trying to work on the men to step up. So with Jeff Dawkins' leadership, and we had some atonement to do down there ourselves because a lot of us left here with baggage. We was able to sleep together, brotherhood together, and man. So I found out the way you get atonement and get us to behave, take them out of the environment and make sure nobody have no flags up so they have to behave and survive together. So we did that. And so we come back. The agenda coming back is buy black, love black, give black. And people say love black first, but I want to go where Webb say, tell it with that money. Buy black, gonna save your problem. So we were able to get the resolution for August 1st, 31 days in honor of Webb Bevan with State Rep Ford, and it's the 14th anniversary of Black Business Month, and we're gonna redirect $1.1 trillion buying power with our business for 31 days. You shop with your people, whether it be $1, $100, $1,000. Let's go 31 days putting our money back into each other. The governor's cut the budget, so we shouldn't be begging. And don't look like I'm going to say, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Because the whole concept of buy black, shop black, love black, be black, everything black. If I wanted to go and get an architect or buy a piece of hardware from a black store from black, let's just say buy black,
Right.
where do I go to find that information so I am able to buy black?
As my good brother Mark Allen wanted to say, I'm glad you asked. Well, I've been, as you, we can't find black business. Where they are, who they have, what are they doing? I can't buy black. Well, we must give honor to the International Black Pages. And they have a full website, internationalblackpages.com. And, oh man, brother, I'll get his name. It's going to slip me, but I've been talking with him.
It's Eugene Delano.
Eugene Delano, yes. And he's been at the forefront of this directory for years. Right. It's a great book. It's a great website, videos. He has up-to-date business. The next article is coming out in another week. We're launching our 31 days with him, so we're going to be pollinating the magazine everywhere. So we're going to have that. And so Sister Cassie with Black Mall, she has her vendors, over 100-some vendors. We have the Chatham Business Association, have their association, Webb Evans. So all these people have hubs of black businesses that we're going to try to make sure they surface so we won't have the problem where black people are. We might have some issues with Black Contract United, but Black Contract United.
Black beauty supplies.
Yes, and we have one
Black
on
nail shop.
Yes, so we have a beauty supply on 87th and Loomis right there on the corner. So we're gonna try to pull everybody out of the woodwork. So advertise in a black magazine, advertise in black. So we make this call, whether you get a flyer, let people know in the community where you are. Unfortunately, we don't have the funding to do it, so we're gonna pollinate with our relationships, her internet, and we're gonna drive. Now this is the power piece. We had over 134 black banks in 1818, around 1818, and the first black bank was out of D.C., Washington, D.C. So we're going to be driving 31 days to 4 black institutions with economics. We have 3 black banks and 1 credit union. So we actually, if you got a bank account with a white bank, if you don't take it out, get your grandbaby account at Seaway. Get your grandbaby account at Illinois Federal Savings. Get your grandbaby account at the Southside Credit Union. Get your grandbaby or your uncle, your niece, whatever, your wife, your girlfriend, over at Liberty Bank. So let's drive the money to black businesses so we can hire our young people, because if we spend money with each other, nobody's going to hire young black children, young black men and girls, but black people. They do not trust us like that. So if we spend money black, that means you got to hire some more people to work your register. You got to hire some more people to come and work the store. We got to hire some people to sweep the store. We going to redirect $1 trillion buying power. And I'm specifically asking black women, $680 billion, buy black, love black, give black for your child.
I'd like to make a point regarding what Cecile was saying about the original Black Wall Street and our present situation today. And it's what a lot of persons, particularly political persons on the West Side, don't like to see me coming, because I'm often telling them, look, we're not the enemy. Our problem, historically and presently, in the majority of cases, is an external problem. Violence is visited upon us and has been visited upon us from day one here. The first time they took us off the ship,
Right.
they were violent toward us. America is a violent country.
Right.
Okay. The power that's used against us is violence enforceable by law, the law and order. Okay, knowledge and money. Those are the 3 things that they systematically, in terms of power, keep black people bound by, notwithstanding our high prison population. I'm often ready to say, look, having been in the military myself and having seen what exists, that this is a military power. And where money doesn't work for white people, they have no problem whatsoever in using military, using violence. So I'm of the opinion that we're not powerless against the violence that's visited against us, but those of us who've been in the military seem to come home and gravitate toward just getting by, rather than bringing back to the community what's really external to the community. It is no accident that those numbers that you cited, Cecile, exist. It's calculated to be that way under the umbrella of capitalism. It's how capitalism works. So then, do we utilize capitalism as it presently exists, or do we understand that this is a state of war? And if this is a state of war, then we need to conduct ourselves in that way. And the violence that we experience internally, those of us who've stared death in its eye and know what death is, you know, cannot be men going around being afraid of boys, you know. And if necessary, we take the pistols out their hands, not call the police.
Right.
It's on us to take the pistols out of these young boys' hands who can't shoot straight. I don't care who send you.
Right.
Okay, we can send something at you if we have to. So I wanted to address that part, that it's going to take men and women, warrior women, to deal with this situation. Okay.
The question.
You have a
Yes.
question?
Yes, sir. The question becomes, and I don't think at this table there's any argument about how we've arrived at this point and why we're in the condition that we're in. My question, because on this end we're solutions oriented, so we have this issue, and we have these issues, these challenges in our community that are systemic. We like to call them institutional. We like to call them institutional fear and institutional envy. Well, why do we say that? Because we live in a system, the psychopathy of the system that we live in, we have two challenges. We have a challenge of emotion, of people that are afraid of us because they've done so much to us that if they were in our position, they would not have behaved the same way.
Right.
Right.
That is an institutionalized framework within which we exist.
Right.
And that's real. The second thing is the economic terrorism. When you spoke about Oklahoma, I
Exactly.
have to draw
Exactly.
the similarities and sort of connect the dots. Oklahoma was economic terrorism.
Right.
Yes.
There were people, the white community resented the fact that black people who weren't allowed
And still do.
in white stores to have their own stores, to take
Right.
care of the needs of their people,
Right.
and to become successful economically, to develop an economic ecosystem that was cohesive, that was healthy for the community. They had a problem with that. So how did they respond to that, to your point, with the use of violence?
Right.
I would argue that the violence is inherent and it's sustained violence over the long haul. So to your point again, when you speak about the discrepancy and the challenges in our community, the violence that we're exercising against each other is learned behavior.
Right.
And it is in response to a psychopathy of being marginalized, disrespected, and treated less than human.
And let's be forthright and truthful. We have, just like white people do, white people have enemies from within. Okay, there are men who have been prosecuted for dereliction of duty in the military. We have black people who are paid by white people to be our enemies.
Right.
Okay. I had a family situation presently that I had to take one of my sons and tell him, you have to leave my home if you're going to use drugs or sell drugs to our people. We have to take that kind of stand.
Right.
That you have to leave our community
Right.
and take your drugs to white community
Or wherever.
or wherever you take them. Take them to the fish. But you cannot be with us and sell drugs
Right.
and use drugs.
So let's talk about why our young people are involved in malfeasance or in behavior that is considered, we know is counterproductive, and it helps to reinforce the system under which we live. Let's talk about what that looks like, because I have these conversations with young people all the time. I'm on the corner with them asking, why aren't you pulling your pants up? Dude, why are you hanging on the corner? You know the popo is going to come and drag you up and blah, 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 and hem you up and this, that, the other, and peanut butter. Well, you know what we going to do, Miss Paula? Ain't nothing else out here to do. You got a job? We've had children come to us begging us, young people begging us to help them find a job.
Right.
Because there's no way that we can dance around it, get around it. The solution to the social, the economic, political is business.
Okay,
It's
we
economic.
agree.
It's
foundation,
business.
right.
Business.
Okay, we agree.
Now, Revin mentioned 1.1 economy, 1.1 trillion consuming
Buying power.
economy. What if this economy was 10 times that, or 20 times that, or 30 times that, a 20, 30, or 40 trillion dollar economy? I believe the money in the original Tulsa turned over how many times? 17, 20?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
20 times? Our real economic situation, if we were business persons doing international, national, regional, and local business, would easily be 20, 30. We should be ashamed to only, if you will, be forced, militarily, police-wise, to be a 1.1 trillion. We should not accept mediocrity. If this enforced system that's enslaving us is keeping us look, let's cut it to the chase. Yes, I'm a Muslim. Yes, I believe in God. Yes, I believe in good and evil. All right? The God I worship, I bow down to 5 times a day, is not poor. How can you tell me as a religious leader, as a believer in God, that God intends for you to be poor, but yet the God you worship owns everything, created everything, is not poor? So why should you be satisfied with being poor? Why should you even think about it? It should be unacceptable. It should be unacceptable to you as a person. It should be unacceptable to you as a family. It should be unacceptable to us as a community. It should be unacceptable to us as the richest Africans in the world. We're responsible for Africa being poor.
I'd like to push back. Can I respond to that?
Yeah, I'd like you to push back a little and respond, because what we're hearing is many different things, right? I'm hearing personal responsibility, and I agree with the brother, right? That the things that are happening in our community, boys should not be running men. The men need to be checking
Absolutely.
the boys, okay? I'm hearing what he's saying, that we're talking about 1.2 trillion, and that's our starting point and maybe our end point for some people, but he's correct, right? That prosperity is endless, and we should not limit ourselves
Abundance.
to that.
Right.
Yeah, abundance is endless, and we should not limit ourselves to 1.2 trillion. When in reality, if the money was circulating 20 times in our community like it does in others, right?
Right.
It would be much more than that. And then he made mention of the fact that we helped to create that problem that's in Africa, right? So that ties into the fact that everywhere you look around the world, the condition of black people is the same. We're on the bottom of everything, even in the countries that we allegedly run, right? They have a black
Exactly.
figurehead. So because it's a system. So, Paula, tell us what you think about
Well,
what he's saying there.
I'd like to push back only to the degree. I agree with you in terms of that. I agree with you that we should not just settle for just surviving, but to thrive. The question becomes, what is it in us? Okay? What is it in us that enables us to accept the conditions of our existence without fighting back, to your point, without engaging in our own best interest, so to speak? This is the reason why I brought up the whole psychopathy, the psychopathy of fear and anger, okay? We're programmed to fear the system that we exist under. We're programmed to accept whatever from the outside comes in. When the drugs were put into our communities in the 80s with the war on drugs, we accepted that. We took it and we ran with it because young people didn't have an avenue to be able to develop an economic base for themselves in their lives. We don't teach this. I didn't grow up with my grandmother or my grandparents or my parents saying, listen, this is money, this is how money works, this is how you get it, this is how you keep it.
That's right.
This is how you grow it.
Right.
We don't have that environment now. Does it exist? Has it existed in pockets? Absolutely. My question becomes, what is it in us that allow us to create this enmity amongst ourselves? Forget the outside pressure. It's real, and I'm not trying to marginalize that in any way. I'm saying, what do we do amongst ourselves? When do we decide, make a conscious decision that we have to do something different so the outcome can be different? You know, we're always told the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different.
Right.
Okay. For the All People Foundation, our perspective of this situation is that these are our problems or our challenges.
Right.
And so the solutions have to be ours. They have to be organic, they have to come from within, and we have to start to look at what can we do differently so that we can have a different outcome. Here's what the All People Foundation decided. And looking around, because we're on the ground in real time, we're looking around, we speak to people, you know, we do what we do. We have discovered that there's several things that prevent us from moving forward in developing an economic ecosystem inside of our community, right? We talk about we need black businesses. Absolutely. We talk about supporting existing black businesses. Absolutely, that's 100%. The thing that we don't talk about is how do you develop black businesses that are sustainable intergenerationally? Well, what is the thing that we don't have? We talk about the spending power, investment capital.
Right.
We don't think like that. The banks aren't loaning us any money. The money and the grants that we do get, because we don't understand paperwork, we usually either misappropriate those things and end up in jail, because we're the only ones who end up in jail for doing it, because they don't. Okay, but it's their money, so they get to decide. He who has the goal, make the rules.
That's right.
We don't see ourselves as people who have the goal, but guess what? We do. That was my question to you, Revin. We're going to buy black. But if I can't find businesses that are black businesses that are accessible to me at the price point that I can afford to buy what I need, I don't engage with that. This is why Walmart is so successful in our communities. We're not the ones fighting Walmart to come to our community. We're glad they're coming because we can buy soap powder.
Okay. Then I like to offer this suggestion.
Please.
One word, it's business. Look at it from this perspective. The only way it's going to happen without us taking up arms, the Arabs that are in our community, the East Indians, and the white people, they're going to have to buy from black manufacturers, black wholesalers, black distributors. I'm of the opinion, and this is why I'm wholeheartedly involved in Black Wall Street, that there are 4 necessary economic engines that have to be billion and trillion dollar economic engine areas. Building and construction. A community that does not own and control its own building and construction, from everything that's built in your community is manufactured by you, is distributed by you, is wholesale by you, is retail by you.
That's what everyone else does.
Second to that is second to building and construction is manufacturing. It's inescapable. We got to have manufacturing engineers. Thirdly, health and health care. And fourth, education. Without those 4 economic pillars, you don't have a community. You're in a concentration
The
camp.
squatter.
Which is what we have now in our community.
We are
Right.
we're claiming to be free in America.
We're not
We're in concentration camps,
Right.
being policed by white policemen
Right.
who are on military duty, who've been in the who are cultivated from youth to police us,
Right.
to keep us in our place,
Right.
by force if necessary.
This is important. Hold on. It's important for us to understand because we keep coming back to, you said 4 pillars. Claude Anderson says 5. Economics, political, legal, media, and education.
I
So you-
said 4
And you said
business
four business pillars.
Right.
Right. So he talks about that same thing, right? Because under the economic base, that's what it is. Because what we're having here is an assassination through the media. As the media is creating all
Trust
kind
factor.
of
Religion, politics, and media.
all of that.
Economics
All
as well.
of that, exactly. So we're being assaulted on all sides. When we go to church on Sunday, we're getting that blessed are the poor, and the poor are not blessed.
And you give your
Okay.
tithing to the church, and they deposit it in a
and-
white bank who doesn't loan to poor black people.
Exactly.
And the sickness of white racism is that they don't understand that if we're secure, that if we're wealthy, and we're doing business reciprocally,
Economy.
they're going to become rich too.
Everybody lifts. That's right.
Everybody's rich.
Everybody
So-
lifts up.
But why should they have to if they can become rich without us becoming prosperous in that interrelationship?
Because if you think that way, you're thinking satanic. That's evil.
Okay.
Because God puts
Okay.
because
I
God
get
puts air down here for everybody. It don't just belong to white people.
I get it. We are on
God
the
puts
same
water
page.
down here. None of us can exist without water for everybody.
But now water is for sale. Try not paying your
Look,
water
look,
bill and
look,
see if
look,
you have
look,
access to
look.
water.
Let me
There's
add
a
to
just
that.
satanic movement right now to buy up all the water of the world. Now, how satanic can you get?
Well, not
To
only
buy
is
up
it
water?
it's going to be the new trading currency is water because human beings need water. But the point that I'm trying to get at here is this.
It's deeper than
Yes,
this.
we need these 4 pillars. We overstand this. Here's what we lack at the core why we can't engage in the economic activity. We don't have the input resources to start it. So
Right.
where do we start with it? If the banks aren't loaning us money, we can't get money from any place else to start the manufacturing, to do the housing building. Hold on a minute, brother. Then where do we go? We have to come back to ourselves. Imagine, this is just a hypothetical, right? We're just having a conversation. Imagine 100,000 black people get together and say, I'm going to commit for 1 year to put $25 in an investment, a black community investment fund. Right? 1,000 people, $25 a month for 1 year. Do the math, Revin. In 1 year, you have how much? $5 million. Think about that. Now, there's a statistic that says that micro businesses are defined as a business with 1 person or more. 1 person can start a micro business. What does that look like? A young woman who's good at doing hair can do hair in her kitchen. But she doesn't have the only $2,000 that it take to buy the equipment to get her license so she can get started and the advertisement. Think about this. Let's just break this down to the nuts and bolts. If she can get that $2,000 to go and get her license as a cosmetologist, to get her little flyers made and to get her little stuff to do hair in her kitchen, right? And eventually she can hire another person, one other person. She can make enough money to take care of herself, her children, and to pay that other person.
So then, why don't every one of us think about and make efforts to become rich? And how do you become rich? You ain't gonna become rich by working for nobody. You become rich by owning your own business.
Right, but I'm hearing something deeper here.
This-
okay?
thank you.
Paula is saying that the barrier to us owning our own business is that initial capital. So she's saying, what if those who do have put that $25 a month into a fund? That fund then becomes a source where
Micro-lending.
where Mary, right, or Shanika, right,
Big
who
Worm
wants-
and Pookie in them.
right, who wants to become a cosmetologist, but doesn't have that money to get the license, because
Exactly.
you used to be able to get your cosmetology license in high school
For free.
for free,
Right.
right? And then they took out all these programs out of our schools, so that now you got to pay for it after. It depends. There's a very few left. Okay, so now that is a barrier. It wasn't a barrier before, but it's a barrier
Right.
now. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Listen to what you're saying, Cecilia. The money-making programs that were in our school
Or taken up.
in the past that they saw we were making money off of, and the majority of us, to answer your question, have historically started from nothing anyway. We either work a job to get what we need, or we find a family member who
Can fund whatever dream or
can
idea.
can help us,
58% poverty rate.
and we make it unnecessarily difficult for ourselves.
That's why she's saying we need to be
Work
cooperative
together.
economics.
Let me help you with
Pool
it.
them little resources
I'm
together.
I'm gonna
I
solve
hear you,
that.
brother.
Let me solve that, because we're making it too complicated here.
All right.
Now, I already did this disclaimer that if it wasn't for black women, we'd be dead as black men. I'm giving y'all your highest honor.
We appreciate
And I
that.
thank you, because there's so many black men talking about black. I'm telling you right now, the first to tell you, thank y'all so much. Now, we have been under attack since day one as black men with a bullseye on our back. And they came with this trick after slavery. It ain't a black and white thing, it's us women against them. They lured our black women into that game, and
the
white
feminist movement.
to the feminist movement that ain't got nothing to do with no black woman's movement. And once they moved in that level, onto Claudine the movie, we ain't seen our black woman since, because they began to elevate her. Not that she wasn't qualified, she became double minorities, black, female, and moving in two directions on gender and affirmative action that became a target to move our women independent by themselves. The black man couldn't come home. You look at the movie Claudine, he could not help that sister if she's gonna lose all her benefits. Let me finish.
Okay,
we
go ahead,
move
Revin.
into that next era of affirmative action. It became a full assault on breaking that black man down and then putting the black woman by herself and then attacking her and her children, as they do when the men are not
Divide
there.
and conquer.
So now we done moved past that into where we are, from slavery to Fantasia. Can't read in America, is American the top sister in America. I'm not putting it down, I'm saying that's the power of the black woman. From slavery to Oprah, $1 billion industry in America. From slavery to First Lady in the White House, right now. From slavery to $680 billion that black women control in America, third largest of any nation. From slavery to a sister in New York right now that claimed 4 months ago that this is the year of the black woman that controls $680 billion. We control technology. We gonna bring the money back to the community and save our children. Her book is called Give Me Back My Black $1 Trillion. That's her book right now.
So then, if I understand what you're saying, Revin,
So we don't need no stimulus package. We got money.
then we let the money stay with mama, with boss lady.
That's not what he's saying.
Wait. Okay, I understand what he's saying. We let the women control the money in the house, but then it becomes us men that are men
Right.
to secure her,
Right.
where she doesn't
That's
feel insecure, threatened.
That's right.
Okay, and let her grow that money.
Yeah.
Because in my house, I'm the oldest of 7. It was my mother that saved us,
The matriarch.
that saved our family.
that's our-
Like you're saying. Now, us as men have to understand and deal with their 2 levels of power that we have to secure militarily if we have to. The first 3 there's social power and political power. The 3 necessaries for social power are personality, property, organization. personality, property, organization for social power. The three necessaries for political power are law, violence enforceable by law, knowledge, and money. Personality, property, organization, violence, knowledge, money. That's what those are the three necessaries, three steps we have to secure, social and political, in order to do business.
How do you intend to do that?
Let me answer that. I'll get right quick.
Well, before that, hold on.
Go ahead.
Because we're running out of time.
Okay.
And I really wanted Revin to talk about the Love Black, Buy Black, Give Black.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha.
Because before we go on to other things, I need you to talk to the people about what your actions are now that you're back, right? And what they can do about that.
Well, it ties to what he wants to answer to, that the Buy Black, Love Black, Give Black campaign in honor of Webb Evans, 31 days of buying black, $1.3 trillion buying power, is we're going to drive our money to our communities. And at the same time, we're going to look at the political agenda, if you guys want to, 1 in a million voters. And it's 1 million conscious voters, which is out of not Claude Allen, but Jim Cleman. Black dollars matter. So we're going to talk about the $1 trillion Black dollars matter, and then we're going to all go and take a look at 1 million conscious voters. We're going to be going on there with money as a party, undecided, not Democratic, not Republican, not independent. 1 million undecided voters with money and power to discuss what we're going to do to generate our power, along with money, power with respect. And our hip hop community, these young people got to tie into this piece. Between hip hop and the $680 billion, that is our base of economics, and our athletes. Somehow we have to redevelop that into a pool, which is the economic fund. But I want to close on this in terms of that's what we have to do going into that same fund. We're not taking responsibility as men. We're working on the men. I'm working with 80 young black boys every day trying to get them on track. We're working on each other. In the meantime, God has blessed the black woman who is the first mother, first teacher. You guys can solve that in the morning. All the women have to do tomorrow say, we want the school for $1, go down to Macy's, Walmart, Kmart, and say, if you ain't supporting this charter school, we don't need but about 5 Eastern Stars, Zeta, AKAs, and Evangelists on. So if black women say we ain't buying tomorrow, don't nothing move in this country. Nothing. It's shut down. My mother shut down a block and she was upset just on a week. Don't nothing move. I know how it goes. You guys ladies make $5, $500. So the agenda got to be until we get our men together, because we all want out of our mind because we're under attack. Meantime, back at the ranch, how do you women use that spiritual power to yield the black woman and put pressure? To that? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm glad that you brought that up, Revin, because that's really our focus. Our primary focus on this end is to develop the infrastructure and the framework and the plans to implement. You're going to go to Washington, you're going to march, or you're going to go and we're not going to buy for whatever. Right. We're not going to pay. Our question and our focus is, so what do we do with that capital that's just sitting? We have to have a plan
That's right.
in place and an infrastructure in place that we can move that capital into black business investment. Imagine our potential to create, just to start with, for the next 5 years, 20 small, local, because that's the key, businesses in each community for 1 year. Imagine just 20 businesses that you can hire at least 3 or 4 other people.
Gotcha.
The concept of unemployment would be null and void.
That's right.
That would no longer be a challenge in our community.
That's
my perspective, my personal perspective is this as a woman, is that I've spent my entire life supporting black men. I love black men to pieces.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm the first to put my foot way up there if I feel like it is required and it is necessary. But the reason that I'm able to do that, and the reason that we do that, is because we take personal responsibility for ourselves. That's everything that happens in our universe. We can have an impact on it. We take personal responsibilities for our family. That's why you have women out here raising children and grandchildren and now great-grandchildren with the fathers that are absent. And we're still trying to hold y'all down. We're not perfect. We're not perfect, but we get it. We've been holding this down from slavery.
Yes, ma'am.
So we get it. So that's what it is. We have created a center called a Power Center that we want to put in every black community. And the Power Center is going to be focused on several different things. It's going to be focused on whole complete marketing center for small businesses, raising finance and capital for small businesses. I'm talking about micro business. $1,500 if you need to get a dog training or you want to breed dogs, pit bulls. We can help you get your license so you're legal.
That's right.
And we can show you how to move from just raising pit bulls, breeding pit bulls, into turning it into a business, a functioning, money-making, self-sustaining business that can go 3 generations. That's our perspective. So when you all bring the money home. We got stuff we already ready to do with it. We're just waiting. Right now we're trying to get, we're doing public-private partnership. We're working in a public-private partnership to fund our power center.
Right.
Because the Power Center is going to house a research and international research and development, economic research and development center, a marketing business, small business development incubation center. And I know it already exists. We don't care. We ain't got to do it ourselves. We will partner with everyone.
That's right.
As long as you're doing,
we need everybody on deck.
if you're
That's
doing
right.
one piece and we have the other piece, let's connect and take care of the business.
all hands
it's time
on
for us
deck.
to take care of our homes and our families.
Yes.
I think that's
Well
perfect.
done.
That's perfect. That's
Yes.
well done coming from a woman.
Yes.
Right? In the year of
Sit
the woman.
between two brothers.
Yes. But it's a collective effort, right? It's a collective effort.
Now, remember, sister, our turn is next.
All of what we're doing is
It's for
you, brother.
you.
Don't you get it?
Right.
We want our little babies. I don't want my sons and my grandsons to be killed anymore. I want them to be empowered.
Yes.
I want them to stand on the kingship that they were born with. I want them to understand their history. I want them to know that they can rule this planet. And I don't have a problem with it.
And we want to help you raise sons
Yes.
that are the apple
Men.
of your eye.
Absolutely. Men.
Supermen.
Real men.
So
Like
what,
we
so
really
what I'm
are.
hearing is a consensus. We had a brother talk to us about reparations, right?
Yes.
And reparations being repair and to restore, and it wasn't just an economic thing. Because when we talk about the dysfunction in our
Yes.
community, has a lot to do with what has been done to
mental
us
health
through
going
economic
on.
and all this terrorism
Yeah,
that's
we
been
see
going on. Okay, so we acknowledge all of that.
Yes.
And what the brothers are saying, we totally agree with you. Paula and I are partners. We work on many things together, and we totally support that. We support that. We want the men to check the boys, right?
yeah.
No more boys running around here
That's
doing
your
whatever.
job.
That's your
Yes.
job.
Yes.
Check the boys.
You know, and it's
We
totally
gotta check the girls,
unacceptable
right?
for the police, for us to allow the police to kill
Our
our
children.
young
That's
Yes,
right.
that's
That's
right.
right.
Okay, we have
It
to
is.
step in as
It
men.
is.
That's
Say,
right.
this is enough's enough. You're not killing no more
That's right.
of our young men. We'll take care of them. And we take him where we have to take him. If we have to take the pistol out of his hand, those of us who are not afraid, we'll take the pistol out of his hand, so you won't have no reason to kill any more of our young men.
And our young women, because we got to take the
Okay.
pistol
Yes.
out of her hand too.
Right.
Because these little heifers running around here acting like they got it straight, and they trifling with their little clothes on, and they're lost, and they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. You're going to be raising the next generation. You have to have your head on straight.
Right.
You educate the young girls, you educate the women, you educate a nation.
That's
Yes.
So
right.
that's,
That's
as
right.
women, that's our responsibility.
That's our responsibility.
And we ain't got a problem with it.
So I want to give an announcement. Life Builders United in Black Wall Street is hosting the flea market every Saturday and Sunday in Inglewood at 69th and Emerald. And they're going to be doing $20 a spot, $30 for 2 days. That's the beginning of part of that cooperative economics, right? So we have a number of things coming on. We have Cassiopeia with the blackmall.com,
Yes.
right? And she has a number of vendors.
businesses,
and
right.
So we want to talk about what can we buy? Well, we'll be creating some material so people can know, I want toilet paper, I want soap, I want this, I want that, right? Can put it on one list and we kind of direct you to where you got to go. And we want people to support this month, Black Business Month, and really we want you to make it a Black 365-day
Yes.
year. But we're going to let you start off in August, the same time in 1920 when Marcus Garvey launched his movement,
That's right. Teach.
Had that 25,000 people come to Madison Square Gardens. So, and created so many awesome things. So we are looking at thanking all of you for coming in, right, and talking and providing such a stimulating conversation, which is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
But it's just part of, I want people to know that we have people out there who are
Thinking.
concerned, who are doing. They're not just talking, because these people don't talk, okay? These are doers, and they're doing things. And we respect the brother to say that, yeah, you're gonna take care of it, because I just about had it too.
We work
okay?
on it right now,
So,
for sure.
I want to thank you all for participating, for this call to action, for this action plan, for having real ideas, for making that dedication. And I know what a struggle it has been. And you know, without struggle, there is no progress, Frederick Douglass said. So again, my name is Cecile Johnson. I'm CEO of African Development Plan. And I want to thank Global City Unity Community Outreach for giving us this opportunity to speak to the global Black community on issues affecting our community. And